Good morning, dear listeners and viewers. Welcome to the SIME podcast. Today, the second day of SIME 2022. SIME, as you are always aware, is a platform for innovators and entrepreneurs and visionaries congregating to understand what's going on in the present and trying to understand the future. And we are today at Epicenter here in Stockholm. My name is Hannes Sjöblad. I am your host for the day. I am normally the Chief Disruption Officer here at Epicenter, trying to understand what is going on and what is transforming the world. And with me today, I have an awesome guest. Warm welcome to you, Charlotte Levert.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Our pleasure entirely. You are, I can tell, the VP and Head of People, Cloud Software and Services at Ericsson.
Yeah.
And you are also on the board of a startup called Wendy. So we'd like to get to know you a little bit. Can you tell us first about your tasks and what you do at Ericsson?
Yeah, we're just for summer this year, we in Ericsson, we merged two units. Cloud Software and Services is everything about software within the new operators and working with 5G rollouts now, but also actually starting to look at 6G as well. That's coming down the line. And then from my end, I'm head of people for this organization. So we are 30,000+ people. And of course, for us, this means that how do we ensure that we continue to be a great place to work?
For real. And how do you do that?
Yeah, so I think it's a new era coming. And for us, when COVID hit, that was a bit of a mark for us on how we started to work differently. And very proud of the fact of how we really ensure that we safely sent everyone home very quickly. We saw already there that due to technology, it's actually quite easy to work from home and still delivering quality to our customers.
I recall you guys were very early with telepresence. Was it some meeting 10, 15 years ago at your spaces and you had awesome big screens with live telepresence? So it must have been easier for you than for many others, I assume.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, we have certain critical areas. We have certain safe zones because we handle certain data privacy that we really have to ensure that they are being on site. But it's a very, very small percentage compared to the bigger group that we are. And to be fair, I don't think hybrid is nothing new. We're a global company. We've been working like this we've been existing for 150 years. So this is normal for us. We're working cross country. We're always connected through Teams and chats, and we have global teams. But what I appreciate now with hybrid working is that we definitely have an even more acceptance of working from anywhere. And what we could see a lot is that productivity levels went up. So
that's always interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the general observation I've also learned, but there are also observations that it's not always that productivity has improved for all persons. But so remote management is a topic I'd like to explore with you a little bit, how to operate completely remote teams over time, right? Innovation, engagement, etc. But no, please elaborate. So you were able to relatively successfully transition into the pandemic, but what has happened now then that it's over?
Yeah. And what we're doing now is that we're discussing a lot about hybrid and a way for me to, so it's about the leader and the team that you have at hand. I don't think you can, as a big company as ourselves, you can't set rules.
Not a single system for everyone, of course.
It doesn't work. And we're all people, we all have lives. And I have 4 kids at home, and you know that you need to drop off and to school, and you also need to ensure that you're actually having quite a healthy work balance in general. And I think that really helps. But one thing I think that's sometimes missing in the discussion of hybrid work is that from an individual perspective, it's great to be hybrid, great to have an opportunity to be at home. It's great to have an opportunity to come to the office. But what you have to take responsibility of as an individual is, how do I contributing to the team?
Exactly.
And that's what we're discussing a lot. I can give my preference on what I do, but what we do in my team is that we generally meet and we say, when do we physically meet because it matters as a team?
Yeah.
And that's where I sometimes think the conversation goes a bit off.
Allow me to explore that a bit further, because yes, that interests me a lot. So remote work can be relatively straightforward. Yeah, I have my tasks, I'm done, then I'm done for the day, shut off the computer, walk the dog. But no, of course, that's not what it's all about.
Yeah.
There are a couple of other dimensions, as you exactly bring up. First of all, as a leader or manager, how do I keep my team motivated? How am I aware of their physical and mental health? All these things that you pick up from people when you hang out with them, but when you only see them on screen occasionally, it's a very different game. And as you very cleverly point out, it's also about what I, even as a worker, what do I contribute to the team, to the culture, to the atmosphere, to the go-ahead spirit?
Yeah.
So tell me, what are the sort of hacks and insights you've
And to
you
your point,
uncovered
and what you're working on as well, on disruption and innovation. Innovation doesn't happen when you're just clicking into a meeting and you have an agenda and you go through the agenda points and then you log out of the meeting. And it's the small chats in between where you get certain understanding about how did that meeting actually go? What was the sentiment? What was the feelings? Did people agree or disagree? Is this actually working out well? And I think it's the small chats that you're actually missing out on a bit if you're only remote. So we definitely see that physical presence matters, and we're starting to get a bit more of that, but none of them are good in isolation. So I think that's where we're coming at, that the mix is good. But I do think that managers and teams, and as you're saying, individuals have to take the responsibility to think about, how do I now contributing to the greater good of my team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On an emotional level, even, for example, right, Mary? So the good old office, is that dead?
That's a good question. Yes, the good old office is dead, I think. But how does the new one look like then? And I think looking at it now, we're definitely discussing that if you're coming to the office, it needs to be an initiative to why I'm going there.
There has to be a reason to go.
It's a reason to go.
Sit in that car queue, to sit on that train.
Yeah. And just the current atmosphere. You walk into certain meeting rooms and there's no windows, the colors, the lighting, everything doesn't really drive innovation in many of the old meetings rooms that we've had. So I think there's a lot of work. And then I'm quite interested about hubs. We have, for example, a big presence in half of our workforce are there. And of course, traffic is quite well known in India. But how do you work with clustering and hubs of talent? And that's what we're looking a lot at the moment. And I think now we can also have a good opportunity for people to have a better cost of living, just because of the fact that they can work in villages and cities that are not that expensive, but they still add value.
Exactly. So they can save not just the cost and time effort of commuting, but in fact also change the place where they live to a cheaper space where perhaps greater access to nature, what you may be looking for. So I think that's actually a fantastic development from a human side, right?
But I'm still stuck a bit actually in the clustering. Do you know that you can see now in job advertisements that we offer fully remote, and that's fantastic. I still see a high value of clustering, that you're at least a critical mass of individuals who meet regularly. And that may not be your core team, but it's a team part of the company.
Without beating our chest too much here at Epicenter, we are founded on the idea that the office of old is no longer working. When we set up shop here in 2015, that was one of the main insights already at the time. And why should I go to the office when I can sit at home and work remotely over email and phone and video, or I can even go to Barcelona and sit there, or Bali, right? Hey, why not? So that was already the situation for a category of workers years before the pandemic. And we developed a sort of a framework around this here at Epicenter, which is that Epicenter should not be just a workspace. Yeah, people come here to work, obviously, and there must be facilities for it. It has to, at the hygiene level, a meeting space. Yes, people should come here to meet, both with their own organizations, but also for meeting others. That's why we have this location here at the heart of Stockholm, where its access should be as easy as possible. But then we asked ourselves the question, someone wakes up in the morning with an hour commute, how would we motivate them to actually get their ass out the door and come all the way to Epicenter? There has to be something more than just a place to work and a place to meet. So the concept we sort of designed upon is that we want Epicenter to be an opportunity, not a workspace, not a meeting space, but an opportunity space, a space where serendipitous things happen. Right? You come here because you know that you're going to meet someone you wouldn't have met otherwise. You don't even know who it's going to be. Somewhere in the queue to the coffee machine, or in the lunch cafeteria, or if you're just sitting out in our terrace cafe, an old friend is going to walk by. and you will pick up on something, right? We're designed to create that environment by having all this content, for example. So inspirational lectures, breakfast talks, master classes, bringing people together into special topics. Yeah, so I came here to work, but then, there was this wonderful masterclass on growth hacking. So I went there for half an hour, and then I started chatting to these guys from that startup, and one thing led to another. So that for me is the idea of the opportunity space, and what sits inside there is that the opportunity is unknown. You don't know what you're going to discover. You know that there is some value there. Whenever I go to Epicenter, additional happens.
Yeah.
What do you think?
And no, I remember when you started 2015, and so you were early adopters in this space, and even then it was attractive. And I remember it was a bit of a fight to get into Epicenter too, because this is where you meet other companies, and this is where you can innovate cross company level as well. I highly welcome it. I think what's interesting, if you look into companies as ourselves, we do a lot of data on this. We can already see now, we see what are the days when people want to come into the office. But what we also actually see is that if we do certain events, then you come into the day on the event, but then you actually are more days at home after.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
I think it's the micro moments that matters for us. But then I appreciate again the hubs, and how do we joint partnerships with companies like yourselves, where we actually can offer hubs for people to meet, so they don't feel isolated remote. So they meet. But for us as well, in our bigger companies and our headquarter, we want to do small nudging activities. As you're saying, you can get inspiration by being in the environment that you are in, but not always do big events.
No, I think
as you're saying, you're
it's
doing
better
like
to do smaller topic ones,
exactly.
because they also encourage people to interact more than a huge lecture with 500 people in the audience.
Yeah. Find conversations that matters in when you're running between meetings. I guess it's a good combo. Yeah.
Hey, I really wanted to ask you as well about when it's a young company.
Yeah.
What do you guys do there?
Yeah, Wendy, it's a small startup. We're definitely in startup mode and scale up mode, and fantastic. The founder, Daniel Eriksson, and we also have a CEO there, Marie Vikan. They're here at Epicenter, and I'm part of the board there. And I like costs in life. I'm at Ericsson, a fantastic day job that I have on working on big scalable solutions. But then also with Wendy is that we're offering on-demand HR support for small companies. I do think, that when you're a very small company, and as soon as you bring in your first employee, things like culture, leadership, what you offer, benefits, how do you ensure that you're being an attractive employer from day? Doesn't matter if you're 1 or 100,000. And what we want to do is that we want to help small companies to get HR on demand on the matter that you actually need at that certain time.
Okay, so a bit more specific, what would that be?
Yeah, so it can be anything from you're wondering, okay, I have people who's need to go on parental leave. What does that mean from insurances, pay? What kind of regulations do I want to set as a company? What do I want to offer and not? It can also be, how do we want to look at our pension schemes? How do we look at salaries? How do we work with leadership? And we're open to everything within the HR space. But what we really want to drive is that having if you get an HR manager employed, then you're still, that can be a cost if you're a small company.
And
so
young
this
companies,
is
typically one person will have multiple roles. You will both be head of sales and HR and something else typically. And then over time that evolves. So you need support.
Exactly. And what I really like about this is that it's for our Swedish speaking friends, it's like Kry for HR. So you basically just log in, you click on a link, and you say that you want to chat with Marie today, and then you get a video meeting of 30 minutes away. So you're getting the quick
HR on demand.
HR on demand, yeah. And I really appreciate it, because I have a lot of friends who do startups and who have small companies reach out quite often and wondering, I have a matter for my people and I really don't know how to handle it. So in this way, they can just get the help that they need. And then they can pause. Then they continue to be in small startup mode again. And then when there's another thing coming in, they can reach out to Wendy and get the help that they want. So on demand.
Brilliant. And since we're here in the context of innovation, What innovations do you see in the HR space that sort of have piqued your interest?
So it's a bit of the combination of the two, maybe. I think if you look at bigger companies, I think there is a lot of work to be done still when it comes to system and processes. But why I'm a nerd in RPA, automation, certain AI and machine learning in HR is that we can actually digitalize a lot for managers to get just the help that they need without the human touch. And why that is important is because if we can digitalize what you can digitalize, then we can be where the presence matters. So that's when I can ensure that my absolutely fantastic team of people partners, they can work with managers when they have complex issues at hand where you need a conversation.
Focusing on the right things. That's what technology does for us, right?
Yeah.
When I'm sure you've discussed this question many times, are the machines taking our job?
Exactly.
It's not that simple. No,
No.
it's more like we complement each other.
And creating jobs. And we're creating massive amount of new opportunities and new jobs. So I'm not worried at all. But what we're doing a lot about is that we're focusing a lot on upskilling and reskilling now. For my previous years, we had a target on us to shift people into about 10,000 people should do a shift of jobs within the coming years.
Per year. Wow.
So when
okay,
you get
that's a massive translation. Yeah.
And when you get that on your table, you're a bit thinking, okay, how are we going to do this? How do you chop the elephant to just get one person to move to another? And I think what's really important there is that you give a very clear direction from a company level, not on jobs, but what you say is that these are the skills that you have to learn in order to stay relevant.
Exactly, to solve the problems of tomorrow, right?
And
Brilliant.
And here is your opportunity to learn. So we offer free of choice, no cost, go in, get certified. And these are the ones that we believe is very important. We have cloud native, we have AI, machine learning, and certain other topics that is important for us.
Give me the topics of tomorrow that you're seeing that we're just going to need more people in these domains.
Yeah, of course. For us, it's 6G. So I think, that's, of course, highly
Different is
relevant
6G from 5G. I mean, is it not just more bandwidth or is it there's something else to it?
Now you should ask my researchers on this. But of course, it's about bandwidth and it's about how fast we can actually stream. And I think so. Just yesterday, we had a demo session and we had a hologram. Fantastic to see how you can actually get now proper good latency speed on a hologram that you can actually see in real time. So this is the future of how you talk to your family and friends. And then I think it's quite interesting when you certain case studies where you do surgery remote and you can actually leverage a lot on this. So 6G, we're quite excited about that to come.
We all are.
Yeah.
I mean, 5G is almost yesterday's news, right?
Yeah.
Although it's just still in the beginning to be rolled out.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Okay, people with understanding and interest in 6G. But I often think about skills and when I'm out having conversations. So one thing we can be sure of is just that our kids who are in school today, the jobs that they're going to have probably don't exist yet.
Yeah.
We don't know the titles, we don't know the tasks, but I'm still trying to knock on your door here a little bit to see what are your sort of observations. What do you think we're going to need to be doing a couple of years from now?
Yeah, as you're saying, I think, of course, what we're already looking into now is that we want to have completely self-managing networks with no touch. And if you see problems that may cause that disrupt the networks that we have today, then the network should be able to solve that problem themselves.
And you mean a network without humans?
Yeah, exactly. And then what do the humans do instead then? We are still working on how do you get the networks to run efficiently as best as at our efforts. So I'm not that concerned. And then I think, for example, when it comes to what we see within automation and there is this also a bit on reality and wishful processing. I think just a couple of years back, you started talking about automation, machine learning, and AI. And we see a lot of companies going out now and saying we have these AI-driven processes.
AI.
Yeah.
Not quite, but
No,
let's put that fancy sticker on.
Exactly. So there's a long way to go. But when it comes to skill and learning is that what we already see now is that we're not asking people to do long learning sessions over a year or two. We want to understand that what is your gaps because people can learn in so many different ways today, and you source learning on internet or whatever type of YouTube or whatever type of sources you do. And then you might want to advance and deep dive into certain areas. And that's where I think we can really do a difference. So that's where we do certifications and really ensuring that they get that in-depth knowledge. But to be honest, where you learn is on the technology and our whole R&D unit on how you actually get really nerdy into the details and work on the products and delivery that we're supposed to do with the customers.
That's
That
where
is
it
where you
starts.
learn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Then you can accelerate certain parts. But what I like about us when it comes to big companies is that we can now start to track skills. So instead of just having open jobs where people go in and apply, we can actually start
Matching
following up.
people. Okay,
Yeah.
so this individual, you should actually be transferring over here. Mhm.
So now we see that this person in Hungary, in Romania, or where we have presence, they are getting certified now within AI and machine learning. That means that we can give that data to our colleagues across the company and say, hey, we actually have here 50 people who are very much advanced in this level. So they're not dependent any longer on managers giving them career opportunities. They're actually taking that ownership of just enhancing their skill levels, which means that we can help to match them into new opportunities. So that's where we are at the moment. So we're establishing a completely new unit and working on the people analytics side on this to actually then steer people into better opportunities.
Awesome. Optimizing for the win of both the employee,
Yeah.
managers, and company as a whole.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Unfortunately, we have to round off. We're running out of time, Charlotte. And I just want to say, when you said this thing that your sort of vision is these autonomous systems that repair itself, it reminds me of the old joke of what is the factory of the what does the factory of the future look like? The factory of the future, there works a man and a dog. The man is there to take care of the dog. The dog is there to make sure the man doesn't touch any of the machines.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something we're going for.
Sure.
And thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me today. Have a great time at SIME today, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.